All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Polk County Board of Commissioners. Today is June 20th. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Yeah, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from June 13th?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Mortar seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next up, we have a district attorney update. Mr. Felton, please join us.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. As I was looking at the agenda, I'm pleased that I am able to be listed above non-listed items. Okay.
Moving up in the
Moving up in the, which means that we have an hour to speak or something on.
Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I now have been allotted less time than non-listed. I think the county charter on that. So I am grateful to have this, as always, these periodic conversations that we have to talk about what's happening in the DA's office and also just public safety in general in Polk County. And always I'm grateful that commissioners have made this meetings available to everyone in Polk County via the web. I always believe that open and transparent government is good government by definition, to allow the public to see what we're doing, ask questions, say whatever they want. And I always say that everything I learned about governing, I learned it on my homeowners association, because that is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. So I'm grateful to be here. I had an experience. I have some prepared remarks that are rather dry and about hitting the topics, but I had an experience last night, which I think really has always hit home for what we do, and I think what we talk about both in our public meetings and when we have one-on-one chats, both when we talk about policy and also just in general when we meet with our constituents about public safety. I guess I opened it with a confession. Some of the things I did this weekend, I shopped at Ace, and I'll get that out there. I bought from Jeremy and his folks, and I can get down the list, but I made good on that. But I also, the confession is I crossed the bridge to shop. So, but I did go to one of the larger stores. And when I was there, something happened. I was checking out there in the garden section, and the woman was doing everything. One woman checking everyone out, and she was taking my card. She was helping another person, and an individual was leaving in the garden section, about evening time, and realizing after I watched what this woman did that this was a ruse. He had a cart. You had obviously an expensive power tool, still had the security strap on it, a few other things. He's angrily talking on his cell phone on the way out, making a big ruckus. And but so that he would not be disturbed on his way out. Caught this very experienced checker's attention. And she said, "Sir, did you pay for those items?" He ignored her and just left the premises. And she calls her manager and says, "Hey, did you help a gentleman?" Where she described him. And no, clearly she goes, "Okay, I'm going to code him as a walkout." And what that was theft. That was retail theft, happened right in front of me. And it's clearly a ruse and a plan. And she's not going to go after him. And when crime happens basically in front of you, you can talk about it in the abstract, as we often do. We can use statistics to talk about it. But when it happens, it's very real. And, I thought about our small businesses here. We've talked regularly, Commissioner Morthorst and I've talked about it regularly when it happens to someone like our Ace Hardware or any of our small businesses, how real it is, how it impacts them. And even when it happens to a large business as I was at, that makes the prices. I sat there going, I just paid X dollars for what I bought there. And this fellow just walked out and didn't pay a cent. And I basically, because my prices go up, I paid more for him. But I know, and I come back to why I brought this up, when this happens in Polk County and our Salem police, our Independence police, our Monmouth police refer that back to us, we hold them accountable. Every one of those referred to us. If we can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, we take that case And we put folks like that in jail or on supervision. That's real. And it was very meaningful. I didn't like seeing it. I appreciated the response. This checker was on it. She did what they do, but it is real. And in this county, that comes to my office, we hold them accountable and we seek jail and we seek other accountability for them. But, you know, having businesses, having the ability to feel safe in our community, and when you see crime happen, it's very, very real. It's not abstract when it happens, and it's jarring to see it. So that was probably more meaningful to me in preparing for these comments, and how much I appreciate the work of our law enforcement, definitely the people in my office who day in, day out see these things, work with these things, and the work of the sheriff. The fact that we have a jail that's available to hold people accountable and primarily see misdemeanors. That happens. I guess I want the people who are behind me and also watching that to know that's our commitment, because part of the fabric of having a safe community is having people willing to put their businesses in our community, and that we shop there, large and small businesses. I think about Ace and West Salem. I think about the Roths and Monmouth and Independence and all the small businesses in between. And I think about people being able to walk in the evenings in the summer that's coming up to patronize those businesses. And so I always come back and reemphasize that commitment, because it's real here. So we are in a good place right now in my office. We are staffed. I keep coming back to, we are staffed on paper because we have the positions filled with folks working. We have one person who's going to be with us after she passes the bar. And so in August, I hope to be able to come to you and say, we have live bodies working in my office for lawyers. We have folks in staff positions full. We have our discovery evidence position that was open, that person full. We welcome back someone who was formerly a victim advocate. She left that, now decided she missed us enough. She wanted to come back, took an opening in discovery evidence. So that is terrific to welcome that person back to the office. So people do miss us. And so we are fully staffed on paper. I have one of my newest attorneys, Mr. Llewellyn, is in trial this morning on a jury trial, and it's good to get him trial experience. It's an interesting case, which has a criminal civil element to it. So I'm looking forward to see how he wrestles with those challenges. So we are in a good place right now, and I always hesitate to knock on the plastic here because I know when things are quiet, that just means things are quiet. So I'm glad that we are here post-levy. I'm grateful for the confidence that the citizens have shown to us by passing the levy by, again, a healthy margin. Grateful for the leadership the sheriff showed in leading that campaign, and Commissioner Mordhorst as well in leading that campaign. I was happy to join them around the community, talking to folks throughout the county about why that was a good investment and continues to be a good investment of their money. So I appreciated that. So that is what I have for you today, and I'd be happy to answer questions from commissioners. I've exceeded my 3 minutes.
Take as much as you need, please. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sure your colleagues will caution you on that. So
I can be overruled. Any questions for Mr. Felton?
Yeah, so Measure 110 is a highly discussed topic these days, and the challenges that most of us believe that it has presented us with. So what is if you can speak to the thinking of your peers with regard to those challenges or the reality of those challenges and the potential solutions?
I'm trying to answer your question succinctly. I think Measure 110 has created so many challenges, and it is but one in several challenges. But let me answer specifically about that challenge. The issue in Polk County that Measure 110 created is that it passed in Polk County, So I don't just,
And we can argue about a lot of reasons
Well,
why it should have passed.
I know.
It didn't pass. It did pass. It shouldn't have.
and I agree with that, but I cannot, have this conversation without noting that before I begin. But I would say that the sentiment of Polk County folks that I speak to about this is that we want folks who are, drug addicted, drug sick. We want them to get treatment and not be incarcerated for their drug addiction. And I say to them, we were already doing that. Those who came within the criminal justice system, who were drug affected, drug sick, we offered them treatment. And well before Measure 110, we always said, if you are drug sick, you're drug affected, folks who are, we will find you treatment. We will get a way to find you treatment within the means that you have. If you're dealing this poison in our community, you will go to prison. And we followed through with that. Measure 110 came along and kind of busted that proposition wide open, because those who were drug affected, drug sick, we weren't able, our law enforcement folks, our behavioral health folks, we weren't able to kind of find that wraparound to bring them within that, to try, and whether it was treatment, supervision, drug court, some of those were even able to find them other interdiction methods to try and get them that help, which we're already doing. It greatly limited our ability, our law enforcement, our support networks through the county and the state were greatly limited. So it addressed a problem that I didn't think necessarily existed in terms of the way it was expressed, and made it much more difficult to get at the problem that did exist, which was drug dealing. We still have drug dealing in Polk County, but some of the pathways to get at that were greatly reduced. So it kind of rocked us back on our feet a little bit. So that was a great issue. But again, as has been, I think, has been publicized, Pat Doris of KGW did a tremendous series on what was missing in 110, because a lot of folks, when they sold 110, was look at the Portugal model. Well, he went to Portugal and said, what are we doing wrong? So what we're doing wrong is great, you're offering the treatment, but you're not offering sort of the hammer with it as well, was that if you don't follow through with that, there's no sort of disincentive. There's no negative piece to go along with that. And that's what's missing as well, is that if you don't follow through with the commitment you make, there is no then incarceration, there is no penalty associated with it as well. And that's a real problem. That's why we did half the model. We didn't follow through with the rest that is followed through in Portugal, for example. And that's the problem with it. And that's where we're falling short on it. So that is where I'm critical of it in terms of what's coming down from the state. So that created a lot of issues as well. It's also created a lot of heartache in terms of the fentanyl overdoses that we're seeing everywhere in Polk County throughout the state, in terms of us being able to have interdiction methods to, for our law enforcement. It created tremendous changes in our search and seizure law. And I'm kind of going over to 30,000 foot view of this, but it created tremendous issues in terms of the security net that we did have in terms of getting involved with people who are at their most vulnerable. And that's a problem just from an enforcement and a security for people and an interdiction point of view as well. So 110 was sold for a problem that did not exist in this county, and created a solution that has not been real effective yet. So I think there's tremendous issues, and there's not a will to basically come in and add things to follow models that do exist to solve it. So it's a long answer to a short question, Commissioner.
Well, what I'm fishing for here is, again, folks in your role, well-educated, very experienced, lots of you across the state, helping us lead with some good examples and good ideas on how to resolve this one element that we know can have an impact on our homeless population and a lot of our crime concerns. And if we, as the electeds, supposed to be smart people, experienced, don't come up with these ideas, and we are relying on legislators to do that, then we're doomed, in my view. And so I'm asking you to continue to think about this, challenge yourself and your peers to find a way to collaborate towards some ideas. And even if it's a collaboration here from Polk County, that we step forward and try to help lead our peers in solutions that we think can improve our situation, then I'm ready to do that. And again, I'm just suggesting that as an intellectual challenge for all of us. Somebody's got to do it. We've got to come up with a plan, because Measure 110 is an abject failure, in my view, for all the reasons you stated and then some. We don't have any tools to compel people to get better. And it's just simply, we're just throwing money at it and expecting these really sick people who cannot pass judgment, make good judgments on their own. We're just expecting them to solve it. And maybe we put them under a cover, give them some shelter, but that's not really solving anything. So as we move forward, excuse me, maybe it will mean some legislation for the ways that we can detain and help people. But right now, I think that we're missing the detention element. And again, it's very complex, I get it, but as we move forward in this, I think we right here in Polk County can come up with some ideas on how we present that. And maybe you're all doing that now. I know that you work in committee work with the judges and the sheriff and others, but the public isn't hearing that. And so I think that we have an opportunity to be able to help give some guidance, if you will.
I completely agree. And right now, as we're dealing with a trend of funding being moved further and further away from supervision and areas which can provide both encouragement and incentives from both points, that's a challenge for us. And we are working very hard to do that. The county can't do it alone. The county just can't be told do X, Y, and Z without the funding to do it. I mean, this county has been a leader in terms of supporting supervision at the gateway level, supporting misdemeanor level supervision. And that stands out from other counties. So it's always been supportive, not only in encouragement through words, but also what counts, money, and finding that. But as you have really ideas that are not, from at the state level, which I think in some ways tie the hands of counties being creative and doing things who have resources, that becomes very challenging. So we're at a real crossroads in terms of what do we stand for in public safety and how we get there and keeping all our citizens safe, and how we do crime prevention programs that keep people healthy, get them off drugs, and also keep all of our citizens safe and healthy and not pit them against each other, but keep those folks safe, provide opportunities for all folks. And it's a major, major challenge. And I find that to be exciting. I don't find it daunting. I find it exciting. And we have to do both, commissioners, in terms of keeping all our citizens safe and keeping this a livable community. So I recognize that, but we often deal with folks across the river in one building who don't know what's going on here. And so I think that's all of our challenge to continue to fight that battle. So, and it's not an intellectual at all. It's very, very real. Every day it's real. So.
And finally, I will thank you for sharing your experience. I think it's an experience a lot of us citizens have, maybe not regularly, but we're watching it in videos. We're seeing potentials for that experience in a lot of places. And I, for one, am a person who would be probably so frustrated with that I would take action. And I know that, lots of experts out there, including yourself, maybe, would say, oh, don't do it. Don't intervene in a situation where you see crime being committed. But I think, unfortunately, that's what's happened to our society in general. We've drifted to it's not my problem. It's an insurance issue. We hear that a lot. Oh, just let insurance take care of it. Of course, who pays for the insurance? Well, we do.
We all pay.
Yeah.
We all pay.
So I'm not satisfied, and I'm confident nobody's satisfied that we see this kind of stuff going on, and it's happening closer and closer to us every day. And it's damaging, our brick and mortar stores more and more. So they don't just have the internet to compete with, they have crime to compete with. And we're seeing that happening across our country, and more brick and mortar businesses are saying, we're leaving, we're done.
And I think that's the visceral issue for me is as you see it in Portland happening. I've had this conversation. I think I've definitely had it with you and all the commissioners I've had, is that fundamentally on my one, I'll do everything I can in the authority I have to not let that happen. There may be a lot of reasons people choose that they can't economically, for whatever reasons, can't go forward on their business, but I cannot allow it happen because they don't feel safe. I haven't done anything in my power as district attorney in terms of the referrals that come to us and encouraging law enforcement to bring people to the jail, to if we can prove a crime, to prove that crime, to hold people accountable. I mean, that is something we can do, and we have real partnership in doing it. And I think that's very, very important. And small businesses and large businesses are critical to the livability, but as is the ability for people to have a home, to feel safe in the home, to walk in our parks, to find a home, to turn around. So it all works together in terms of the livability in a peaceful community. And also people don't want to work here, find jobs in law enforcement, find jobs in the service industry, that's down the list. But that really, really matters, and that we all have a stake in doing that. And I know we're not perfect and everything doesn't always go right, but I think if we're all pointed in that direction, with that being the focus, it does begin to work together. And I think that's a common goal that can be merged. It is often merged. So it didn't come to pontificate, but it did come to share that and reaffirm and continue to reaffirm that. And I know that we can always find, well, here's this one example where it didn't always work, but I think in large part it does with that commitment.
I think your pontification is fine in as much as, again, we're recorded, and this is our engagement opportunity for the public to get an idea of what your thoughts are from today forward, and what you can do and what you are doing to help resolve some of these concerns and to continue to allow Polk County to be a unique place. We don't need to be blended with the rest of Oregon as far as these issues are concerned, except where, you must follow the law. But I think it's important for folks to get an idea of what their chief law enforcement person is supposed to be doing and can be doing, and what you can't do. And I think it helps reassure here in Polk County, your words help reassure those businesses that if they go through the steps that they have to go through now to try to record a crime in action, like cameras and security systems, that it pays off, that it will actually do something. My suspicion is a lot of those businesses that you're speaking about have been doing those things and get no results just the same, and have henceforth told their employees not to intervene, not to get engaged, it's too dangerous. There's no positive outcome here. So the more compressed that population is in an area, I'm guessing the worse it gets. So perhaps we have a benefit of being less compressed. I hope we stay that way. But I think that all of us as citizens, as consumers, and the business owners should have confidence that whatever actions they're taking, I'm one of them, I have cameras and so forth installed in my home, my commercial property as well. I hope it works. I hope it works, because I'd be awfully frustrated to have gone through all those steps that free citizens shouldn't have to go through, so that I can support your work in making sure that these people are brought to justice. See, I just pontificated with you as well, but I think the stuff in today's news pieces are very worthy.
I believe so. I think there's greater opportunity in the digital world to do more and have more. And you're right. I always say that my job is to work myself out of a job. And
I wish you could.
I know. Then I could go back to whatever my second choice was. I don't know, sculpture, art, or something.
Can do both.
Or because I know a big lottery ticket winner seems to be filled at the moment. So and they're not hiring, although they advertise all the time. They turn me away every time I apply. So but that's right. And there is more opportunity in the digital world. And I do regret that folks feel they do need to do that, but it helps. Having that helps. So in terms of proving things, people like to see it. And that's just an expectation, but that's a whole other conversation. I'll just finish up by saying I am grateful to for the support of this commission in terms of the folks I have on board and making it possible for a good work environment for them, so that they can do the good work of this county and support people in public safety of this county. And if you have more questions, folks know where to find me. Thank you. Thank you, commissioners.
So if I could have just a second, I just want to echo what Commissioner Pope said. Watching our main streets just get decimated between busted out windows and petty theft and robbery. And it's just, I'm glad to know that we are dedicated to fighting that effort. But Aaron or DA Felton, you covered it. If we don't have the hammer to put down on these people, when we do catch them, we're just spinning our wheels. So I'm hoping moving forward that we can actually get some of that back, especially when it comes to the drug addiction. We can actually force them into treatment. As of today, do you want to take it, or you can pay $100 fine and you get a walk, and then never pay the $100 fine. There's no consequence on that as well. It's just very frustrating. So, but I also want to point out, since I've been a commissioner, it's been almost 5 years now. This is the first time we've had a full DA staff on paper and a sheriff's department as well on paper. I know you both have you have your employees waiting past the bar and get through the sheriff's college. And I know it's not that, but I just want to commend both of you for filling your staffs and actually having that going. It's going to be exciting knowing that we'll have full efforts going ahead in fighting all of this, from traffic on the highways and the speeding to the petty theft crimes, and putting them in jail. And hopefully we'll be able to make some changes to 110, and we can have a little bit of teeth put in that so we can get that under control. But mainly, I just think having the legal drugs, that's not, it was presented to us on the ballot. That's why it passed. It was supposed to be addiction and having that help, which never really came and still hasn't today. But hopefully going forward, we can fix all that. So Aaron, thank you for your efforts. And I know your staff is working hard for us, and it'll be exciting to have everybody on board and really going after it. So thanks for everything you do.
Appreciate it.
Guys, thank you, Aaron.
And again, it's a team effort. It is the support of this commission. It's a team with the sheriff who's sitting right here, and that's what makes it work. And so I'm grateful for that. And I'm not alone. I've got, I would say, every single, well, I would say 95% of my fellow elected DAs have the same position I have about 110, and we are struggling with it. And so I think ODA is reasonably unified. We're like, your organization too. We don't always agree on everything, and probably you could think of names of particular electeds who might have a different point of view on it, and that's okay. That's overwhelmingly other elected DAs have real issues with 110, same as I do, and most of them are in our neighboring counties. So, all right, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So one final thought. I think one other thing we have going for us in Polk County is the relationship with the community. There's a lot of trust between law enforcement and the community. I grew up in a small town. We had that. I lived in Minneapolis for a while. There wasn't a lot of trust both ways between community and police and community. And just the collaboration of all the agencies in Polk County, I think you maximize our opportunity for public safety, and I appreciate all the work. So thank you so much for the conversation. Do we have any non-listed items from staff that we need to address? No. All right, hearing none, we're